Hi guys, my name is Amos Dsouza and welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 in the ongoing series that is how to make your first game, and if you haven't watched the previous video, you should highly watch it because that is how you get started with game development, and it explains a lot of fundamental things you need to know before getting into this video. Now let's just jump right into Godot. So in the previous video we finished up and we made up this scene wherein we can play and we can see that our background is a dark color, which I'm going to leave it as it is, and I'm going to close this output by clicking on the highlighted button. So in this video what we are going to do is learn about player controls and collisions. How do we do player controls in Godot and what is collisions, right? So imagine this is your player, okay? This black box is a player, okay? Now right now this black thing or black box is just an image on the screen, right? This thing has no it does not interact with anything, it is just pixels on the screen. Now the important thing in a game is to have collisions. Now to have collisions or detect them, we need something known as colliders, which will help us detect collisions, and it will give us an output whenever this image or this collider comes in contact with another collider. Now this red thing which I'm drawing right here is the player collider, which is a box collider which we add using Godot's inbuilt collider. I'll show it to you once we are in the Godot screen, okay? So this red thing right here will detect all the collisions for you, and it makes the task a whole lot simpler because you don't have to check if this black thing is overlapping another black thing or a white thing. So this red outline will give you whenever it comes in contact with suppose another red color outline or another collider in general. So in Godot we will use colliders shortly, but we will go over some more nodes we need to learn about. So we're going to click the add node right here in the top left, and then we're going to go under node 2D because we are making a 2D game, okay? And you'll see a whole lot of nodes, right, which I don't want you to get confused with. So go up here and search for sprite, and it will two things will pop up under node 2D. You will have animated sprite, then you have damped sprite joint, which we are not going to use because we are not doing any joint 2D, and then you have your basic sprite, which is under node 2D, as you can see by this line, okay? So we are going to use just the sprite and we're going to click create. Now by default it will come and join to main, since that was the only node added in this scene, okay? And it will spawn it will show up at 0 0. So as you can see, these are the two axes, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis, and it is at the center. And if you go to your inspector panel right here, and if you drop down this transform, you'll see position is equal to 0, 0. Now whenever you add something in the scene, it will always spawn at 0, 0, which is 0 at the x and 0 at the y, okay? Now what is sprite? If you click the add, whenever you're adding, you can go down here, like you are selected sprite, it will give you a short description and it's a general purpose sprite node. Now in the previous video I told you sprite also means art, so if you want to add any art in your game, you can use this sprite node to add art in a game. So for this game, I had made the player the Godot logo, and from where did I find it? So if you go down to the file system, every game which you start making in Godot will always have this icon.png, and suppose if you just drag it out in the work area, okay, since the sprite was selected, it is gone under sprite. So you can select the icon and you can drag it to main, and once you see the outline, it will go under main. As you can see, suppose you want this to be under sprite, it will go under sprite, but we don't want it to happen like that. Okay, so as you can see, anytime you drag any image, it will automatically create a node, which is a sprite node. With the symbol, you will understand that it's a sprite node, right? So we are not going to use this because this will set its transform to a random value, which you can always reset by hitting this button right here, and then we want to reset the scale also, so press this undo button and it will reset the scale. Okay, so that is how you can import sprites in a game. There's another way. I just deleted the sprite by pressing delete. There's another way. So you add the sprite in and come under inspector, and you'll see you have texture, right? So you can take any image, which I'm going to drag this icon.png and drag over to textures like so, and it will add the texture to the sprite of sprite node. Okay, now it is at 0 0 and scale is 1. So we are going to zoom out by using the scroll wheel, and then we'll try and place the player character like so, right? Okay, now we understood what is sprite, we know what are colliders. Now we need to learn about more stuff, more nodes, that is. Okay, so to make a player, Godot offers a lot of different types of nodes to make different kind of objects in your game. Okay, so we have the node 2D, right? So node 2D will handle all your games which are made which are 2D games. All the 2D games will inherit everything from node 2D. Now to make your objects in the game, you have different types of nodes. Okay, I'm going to use a different color for those. So you have area 2D, then you have static body, static body 2D, then you have kinematic body 2D and 2D, and then you have rigid, oh I spelled that wrong, rigid body 2D. Okay, now all these 2D objects will obviously correspond to 2D stuff. Okay, I just make it neat. It is not neat right now, but this is just to make you understand. Okay, so you have this 4 types of nodes which are mostly used in making a 2D game. So an area 2D will help you detect anything in the area of that in that region. Okay, a static body 2D is great for ground because any static objects you can use static body 2D. Kinematic means movement, so this kinematic body is useful for players, and rigid body is useful for any types of objects which requires gravity or any physics operations or any physics processes, sorry. So like suppose we want to make an enemy, or suppose we want to make a tower. Okay, I'll just throw this with that. Okay, go back to brush, and we want this tower or tower to detect any players in its radius. Okay, this is a rough sketch. Just make this tower a little bit like a tower otherwise it looks just plain. Okay, so we need to detect any player. I'm just going to make the player black box because it's very easier. Okay, we need the tower to detect whenever this player enters in this region right here. Okay, so now to make this green area, the best object is the area 2D. So I'm going to select this green color and we're going to say area 2D. Okay, now to make this player, the best bet to make a player we're going to use is your kinematic body 2D, because the player needs movement, and the best thing is the best type to use is kinematic body for the player. Now the tower which we are making is a static object, right? The tower does not move, so the best thing to make the tower out of is your static body 2D, obviously, because this is not 3D. Okay, and suppose the tower shoots down fireballs, right, at the player. You can use two things for that. You can either use your rigid body for that, rigid body 2D, or you can use a static body 2D, because you just need to have some type of collisions on this bullet or any types of projectiles which you want to make, but that can depend on what type of games you can make. So I hope you can understand the difference between all the four types. So let's just jump back to Godot and let's try and make the player, let's try and make a complete player. Okay, now that we are back in Godot, we're going to delete this sprite which we added before. Okay, because we can re-add it later on also. So we're going to click on main and we're going to click add and then search for kinematic body, because we're making the player. So as you can see, kinematic body is under physics body. Okay, and physics body is under collision object body, and it's under node 2D. So you can see the tree form here. Okay, so suppose we select the physics body kinematic and we click this X right here. Okay, and we scroll down. Okay, it doesn't appear, so we can just open node 2D. Okay, scroll down, see where player 2D will be find player 2D. Okay, you see collision objects, click that and you can see area 2D, and if you click physics body 2D, you can see all the physics. So you can see they are all under collision object. Okay, and you can see area 2D. Area 2D is for detection and 2D physics influence. Okay, kinematic body 2D is for kinematic body 2D node, that is to anything you want to make it move. Rigid body is controlled by the 2D physics engine, as you can see in the description, and static body is for static body. Okay, now how do you remember what each does? So you can see this running player kind of icon or stickman just running. It is for the kinematic body, so you can imagine that being the player, and so if you see the icon, you can you know that it is used for the player. You can see for rigid body it is a ball, and ball requires physics engine, so remember like that. And the static body has a boundary to it, so that makes you think like that should make you think that it's a box which you can't move, or the box is static. And area has the arrows to it, wherein you suppose you select something and you see those corner arrows. That means you can use detections or something like that. Okay, so we're going to add the kinematic body 2D. So we added, and we can see a triangle pops up, which is the arrow triangle. And what we're going to do is click it, and it says the node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with other objects. Consider adding collision shape or collision polygon as a child to define its shape. Okay. Now we already spoke about collisions. So there are two collision nodes. So if I search up collision, you can see there are two collision nodes, which is collision shape and collision polygon. Both are 2D. Okay, you have 3D versions of it, but we're not going to use it. We're going to focus on 2D. Okay, so collision shape has represents collision shape in data. Okay, these are predefined. Okay, so you don't have to define. And collision polygon you have to define. So let me show you the example of how this can be used. Jumping back to my diagram, or the place where I illustrate. So what is the difference between collision polygon and collision shape? Collision shape and collision polygon. Okay, so collision shape is comprises of all the basic shapes, like a square, an ellipse, a what else is there? A cylinder. No, cylinder isn't applied. What else you have? You have your the capsule. Okay, I'll show you all the examples which are there under the collision shape. Oh, I'm so bad at drawing. Okay, I just shade this. Okay, you have your capsule. And what is collision polygon is, suppose you have an irregular shape, like it's a star. Okay, your sprite is a star. I should use a different color for that. Suppose your sprite is a star, and star isn't a basic shape, right? So what you're going to use is you're going to use your collision polygon. So once I finish doing that, okay, so we're going to switch back to red, and then what we can do with collision polygon is we can select these points like so. And it will automatically define a boundary or a collision shape to this sprite. Godot does it for you. You don't have to do this. You just have to define the points wherein you want your collision or your collider to be. Something like that. So now it will take complete it will take complete collisions, and it will detect everything with it. Okay, now let's just jump back to Godot. Okay, so we are back in Godot, and we need to add collision, right? But before adding collision, we need the art to have collisions, right? Without the art, we can't do collisions, because we don't know which one to select, either collision shape or collision polygon. So in this game, I had used was the default Godot logo, so we are going to use the same one here too, so that this tutorial series is very simple. So what we are going to do is we're going to select the kinematic body 2D and then drag the icon.png. Okay, and now you can see the icon.png is under kinematic body 2D. So why is that important? Because when we do coding, we are going to move the kinematic body 2D, and suppose if we move the kinematic body 2D, so you can go up here and click this move tool, or you just press W on a keyboard, and if you move the kinematic body 2D, the sprite will move with it. Okay, so I'll control Z, and to go back to select mode, just press Q. So right now the kinematic body 2D's transform, if you go and see, is 0 0, but the icon's transform is some random thing on the in space, or I should say 2D space. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the reset button so that the kinematic body 2D and the icon is at the same position. Okay, so now if we see the general idea or the general shape of this icon is a square, so collision shape is preferred over collision polygon. So what we're going to do is we're going to select kinematic body 2D again, because that has the arrow on it. So we're going to select that, and we're going to click add, and then we're going to select collision shape, not polygon, shape, and then click create. Okay, now you can see another error pops up and it says the shape must be provided. So what we're going to do is we go to the inspector and you see shape and it is empty right now. So we're going to click it, and here are the possible shapes we can do, which is capsule, circle, concave, convex, line, ray, and rectangle. So this is what we're interested in, so we're going to click a rectangle. And if you zoom in, you can see two handles appear with a square box, which is blue box. That's your collision shape, so it will detect anything in that area. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a hold of these handles, and then we're going to extend it towards the edges of this icon. So now you can see the whole icon has this blue tint on it. So if you don't like this blue tint, what you can do is you can just click the icon here in the scenes panel and then drag it below collision shape, so the icon will pop over it. So that's how art is drawn in Godot. So it goes from the bottom to the top. Okay, in children's. So now we have the collision done for the player, and that was pretty fast, right? So one more thing, a quick tip is, suppose, okay, before that I'm going to rename this to player. So whenever you suppose move this player which has children's under it, you can by mistakenly just move the icon which is right here. If you see in the inspector, we just move the sprite, not the kinematic body 2D. So to fix that, or to have that never have that problem, what we're going to do is we're going to select the player, then come up here, and you can see this icon says make sure object children are not selectable, and we're going to click that. So what it's going to do is that it will only move the kinematic body 2D and not the icon or the collision shape, because we don't want the collision shape to move, because otherwise it will mess up the collisions. So that's it, guys, for this part. What we did was we added collisions to the player, and now the player has collisions in it, and in the next video we can do some coding to get the player moving. So if you like this video, click the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss the next part, which hopefully I can post by tomorrow. And if you feel this video is very informative and you feel you want to share it to a friend, then do so. That will highly help me grow my channel. So with that said, I will catch you all guys in the next video. Bye bye.